Pro Savings Days are back at Lowe's. My Lowe's Pro Rewards members save even more with limited-time doorbuster deals. Save $5 on 24-count Contractor's Choice 42-gallon trash bags, now just $14.78. Plus, get your choice select DeWalt Elite Series saw blades for $9.98. Not a Pro Rewards member? Join for free today at Lowe's. Valid through 9/17. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowes.com/terms for details. Subject to change.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the History of World War II podcast, episode 569, The Germans Take Kasserine Pass. Last time, the Germans offered the Americans another lesson in modern warfare by taking Sidi Bouzid, just west of the Fayette Pass, while Rommel took possession of the town Gafsa at the southern end of the eastern mountains. But more importantly, significant American forces had been destroyed or captured in the process. That the Americans in the South had been on the defensive while the Germans controlled the initiative was cemented during this last contest. The $64,000 question now was, what would the Germans do next? Which was a good question, because both Rommel and von Arnim put forward their own attack plans. Kasserine backed Rommel's as it would accomplish more, but needed the approval of Rome first. But von Arnim one-upped Rommel by having his forces move out, according to his plan, knowing that Rome and Kasserine would loathe to change an attack mid-motion. Thus, General Ziegler moved out from the recently taken Sidi Bouzid to attack Jebel Hamra and Zabitla, the former being west of Sidi Bouzid, where CCA had tried to help the trapped GIs, while Zabitla was about 20 miles or 32 kilometers northwest of Sidi Bouzid. Because the area in general had to be cleared of Allied troops if Axis units were going to move through the western mountains through the Kasserine Pass and under it simultaneously. Ziegler moved out in the afternoon of February 16th. But mostly because he had been told that the enemy was pulling back, abandoning Zabitla, a part of a larger retreat. But Robinette's CCB was shielding the pullback by covering Zabitla's southern half. Meanwhile, McClellan's CCA was reconnoitering the town's northern half, as both his CCA and CCC would be stationed there. McClellan looked things over and had his men move from Jebel Hamra to Zabitla. The reconnaissance troops of the 21st Panzer, though, were right behind them and assumed that the Americans were simply going to pass through the town, certainly not stay there and put up a fight. So when the men of CCA reached Zabitla, the German reconnaissance unit that was following them fired a few rounds to hurry the Americans along. A few of these shells landed near McClellan's command post, so he moved his post further west. But this triggered a retreat of some of his units, even though they had not been ordered to move out from the line. It took a while, but when McClellan discovered this, he yelled loud and long enough to get those units back along the line by morning. General Anderson made it clear on February 17th that both Zabitla, just northeast of Kasserine Pass, and Fariana, closer to the pass, would be abandoned, but for now they should be held, if possible. The Axis forces near Zabitla were about to put that to the test. Men from the 21st Panzer Division reconnoitered the area and found that McClellan's CCA section of the line was too well set up. It was decided instead to hit Robinette's section. The Germans came on, but Robinette conducted his defense admirably. Holding back the attack, Robinette did not call for a retreat of his own men until 5:30 p.m. that afternoon. As for CCA and CCC, they were left alone by the German ground troops. But when they did pull back, they were soon harassed by German air attacks. As a part of the bigger retreat plan, again, Variana and its airfield just north were to be abandoned. Sadly for the Allies, there were 34 damaged aircraft at the airfield at the time that could not take off, so the Allies were forced to destroy them before they moved out. And now, controlling more of this plain, in between the southern end of the two mountain ranges, Rommel and von Arnim simply waited to hear back from Rome, who, they were wondering, would be the next commander of the upcoming attack. Early on February 19th, Rommel and von Arnim heard from Rome, and neither man was happy with the message. Rommel was now ordered to head well north of all of this local fighting and to attack Lukiv, which would force the British Fifth Corps to withdraw, versus practically helping to wipe out the U.S. Second Corps at Tebessa, which would have also forced the British to pull back as their southern flank would be opened. It was the easier of the two, but it was not what Rome wanted. Now, this made no sense to both Rommel and von Arnim, who had to wonder, what map was Rome looking at? Meanwhile, von Arnim was to call back the 10th Panzer that he had already sent north to the Fonduc Pass and give it and the 21st Panzer to Rommel so he could fight his way north for this new plan. But von Arnim, highly upset, only sent Rommel a part of the 10th Panzer Division and certainly not the Tiger tanks that Rommel was looking forward to using for the first time. Still frustrated by trying to comply with these new orders, early on February 19th, Rommel ordered the Africa Corps Assault Group and the Centauro Division to take the Kasserine Pass, so he could pass through it, then head north through the town of Thala on his way to Lukiv. As this would put the German force just behind the British line further north, this again, Rome hoped, would force them to pull back.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Meanwhile, the 21st Panzer was to also go north, but through the Sabiba Pass, due north of Sibitla, so east of Thala, and also make for Lukiv. But as the 10th Panzer, which had been heading north already to the Fonduc Pack per von Arnim, could not be in Sibitla for another 48 hours, and Rommel would not want to send them on to help threaten Lukiv until it had regrouped at Sibitla, which, it turns out, would only be one of Rommel's coming problems. First, the 21st Panzer was having trouble at the Sabiba Pass, for General Anderson had placed there the 1st Guards Brigade, the 18th Regimental Combat Team of Allen's 1st U.S. Division, 3 battalions of Ryder's 34th U.S. Division, and parts of the 5th Lancers and 2nd Hampshire. These last two were on the heights to either side of the pass. During a heavy rain, the 1st Guards Brigade held off the panzers. The local German commander, Hildebrand, decided to hit a supposed weak link, the Americans, on one of the flanks, but they too held back the attackers. Instead of wasting time here, Rommel then told the 10th Panzer to help the Africa Corps Group fight through the Kasserine Pass. As long as one of these two forces made it to the north, the British would have to pull back. Just on the western side of the Kasserine Pass was one battalion of Colonel Stark's 26th U.S. Infantry and Colonel Anderson Moore's 19th Combat Engineer Regiment. Yet the latter lacked heavy infantry weapons and training in defense. General Fredendall was aware of this, but these were the only units to hand, so he ordered Stark to personally take command. Time for a mental map. The Kasserine Pass has an opening on the southern side of the western dorsal mountains, and it's about a mile wide. Once through the pass, there is the Fausana Basin, which itself is about 20 miles wide. On the upper side of the basin, once through, there is a railway, a road, and the Hatab River. Further into the basin, a road splits off, heading north towards Thala. Meanwhile, the other road stays in the basin, heading to the northwest, which eventually exits, and then you turn west for Tebessa. With that done, Stark put his men on the northern road to Thala, the engineers on the Tebessa road. In local command of the German forces was General Buloyos, the assault group's senior gunner, probably trying to either impress Rommel or hit the Americans before their defenses became stronger. He tried for a daytime attack on that February 19th with the 33rd Reconnaissance Unit. But the basin was like a fishbowl. The soldiers saw them coming and prepared. The Germans found they could not sustain their losses by enemy artillery and keep going. So, upping his game, Buloyos tried again to go through the pass with 2 battalions of the Panzer Grenadier Regiment, Africa, with help from tanks of the 8th Panzer Regiment. This time, they made progress, but it was slow going. The heavy rains did not help either side. Still, Buloyos promised Rommel that he would get through by nighttime. But the Desert Fox was less confident, so told Buloyos that the 10th Panzer would be there in the morning of February 20th. That pass was to be in German hands by then, so the 10th Panzer could simply keep going to then head north and take Thala. Meanwhile, the Centauro division of the Italians would take the western road and make for Tebessa. During the night, German infantry snuck into the pass, taking up positions on the American side. The U.S. 19th Combat Engineers were mostly pushed out as the sun rose. Playing it safe, though, Fredendall sent Brigadier Dunphy's 26th Armored Brigade of the 6th British Armored Division to Thala, and in front of it, a motor battalion led by Lieutenant Colonel Gores and his 10th Rifle Brigade with tanks and field guns was sent south on the Thala Road to help Stark's men, who were shielding Thala by setting up a defensive line south of the town along the road. Also, Robinette's CCB was on its way to support the engineer troops on the Tebessa Road, which did not stop the Germans from breaking through deeper into the Fusana Basin. With this done, when the Centauro Division got there, they passed right through and kept going west, ever closer to Tebessa. But when night came, they stopped and set up a camp. As for the northern road, the 10th Panzer Division soon ran into Gore's battalion group, as Stark's men began to pull back from there to Thala proper. The American history acknowledges Gore's well-implemented withdrawal action. The valiant stands, as there was more than one, of Colonel Gore's detachment forced General Buloyos to commit his 1st Battalion 8th Panzer Regiment to force the breakthrough. The British fought until their last tank was destroyed. Casualties were severe. Either way, the Kasserine Pass had just been lost by the Allies. But it was this very defeat, though the area in general was still being contested, that shed light on the far from efficient Allied chain of command. General Anderson believed that Fredendall had lost control of his corps, while Fredendall believed that General Ward was in over his head. In fact, by this point, the two men were not speaking to each other. Yet Fredendall pushed the issue when he asked Eisenhower to replace Ward, and perhaps a bit too quickly, Ike sent for Major General Harmon of the 2nd U.S. Armored Division still in Morocco. But by the time Harman showed up, Ike was starting to think that perhaps it was Fredendall who was the weak link. So Ike sent Harman to Fredendall with the cover a useful assistant to have around in times of crisis. As for the confused command situation, it was at its worst during the afternoon of February 20th. Anderson sent a man to Thala to help coordinate the defenses there, but Fredendall told Robinette to cover the Tebessa Road, but did not tell Ward that he did that. Then Fredendall told Dunphy to hold Thala and coordinate with Robinette, who was covering the Tebessa Road. But worst of all, when Harman did arrive, Fredendall told him to take command of the entire 2nd U.S. Corps front, namely, to be in charge of these 2 attack points and to use Ward's entire staff, which left the question, what was General Ward supposed to do? Just stand there? It made no sense. Fortunately, many of the commanders under Fredendall ignored his orders and decided on a defensive posture. Let the Germans break themselves, and only then should the Allies go over to the attack. The battle against Rommel was now being run by Robinette, Dunphy, and Nicholson. The last one was the deputy commander of the 6th British Armored Division, now at Thala, and he had fought Rommel before. On February 21st, Rommel had his forces move out again. Along the Tebessa Road going west, the Centauro Division was checked by Robinette's CCB. As for the road going north to Thala, the 10th Panzer was on the move, and Rommel was with them, not allowing the division to give anything but their all. And this did the trick. Dunphy was forced to slowly pull back towards Thala. The good news was that the 2nd, 5th Leicesters of the 46th British Division had just arrived, and they had set up on a ridge just south of town. Moreover, the artillery from the 9th U.S. Division would soon join them, as Eisenhower had it rushed up from Oran. Dunphy took pride in the fact that his men held off the 10th Panzer just outside Thala all that day long. What he did not know, though, was that Rommel was not really pushing as hard as he could have. Not yet, for he had a different plan. When darkness came, another column of British tanks approached the Leicester's position. In the lead was a Valentine tank, so the column let them through, undisturbed. Turns out it was a captured Valentine, used to lead in panzers, and once inside, the panzers opened up. The attack was intense and going the Germans' way. Fortunately for the Allies, Dunphy quickly sent his tanks back into the area from the town. The Germans were eventually pushed out, but they took many prisoners with them.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
But giving as good as he got, Dunphy then tried his own sleight of hand. For the rest of the night, Nicholson sent in wave after wave of tanks to lead counterattacks. The idea was, as these attacks were not expected to really break through, it was to make the Germans think that Thala was so strongly held that the Allies had tanks to spare on these nighttime raids. And this worked. The German commander decided to go over to the defensive to be ready the next morning for fresh enemy attacks. Meanwhile, Rommel was on his way back to Kasserine Pass to meet up with Kasserine. The Rommel that met Kasserine was not the Rommel of old. He had, and admitted this to Kasserine, misjudged the area, vis-a-vis being suitable for wide-ranging operations. Also, the 4 days of rain had not helped, limiting his tanks and trucks to the few roads that existed in this area. And lastly, he needed something to break here so he could hurry up and get back to Mareth along the coast to ready his men for Monty. As was his wont, Monty would not move until he was ready. But when he was ready, it would be a force to be reckoned with. In other words, Rommel was dejected, depressed, and felt overwhelmed. Which is when Kasserine stated that it was his intention to make Rommel commander of Army Group Africa. If Kasserine, ironically called Smiley, expected the former wolfish grin to break out on Rommel's face, he was mistaken. The Desert Fox turned down the offer. But Kasserine assumed this was just for show. It wasn't. Not that it mattered, as the next day, a directive from Commando Supremo appointed Rommel to the position. Further, it declared it was time to deal with Monty's 8th Army. Greetings, everyone, from Central Virginia. So happy Friday. We all made it. Yay. Anyways, so we see that Kasserine Pass now belongs to the Axis, and yet the Allies are still able to stop Rommel from either heading north or to the west. So it's a mixed bag at best. And we'll see what happens after this. So anyways, I would like to thank the newest member, Jed. Now, is it Marquise or Marquise? I'm not sure, or Maki, I'm not sure. So Jed M, thank you very much. Cool name, by the way. And as far as donating, I would like to thank Dallas Roberts for his donation. So I'll see you guys next week with the next episode. It's getting to where it's really becoming a time factor because, one, they're not able to push the Allies further back out of northern Tunis, and yet Monty and the 8th Army are building up. You know how Monty is. He will build up. He likes a 3-1 advantage, and why not if you can make it happen. So the clock is ticking for Rommel, and we'll just have to see what happens next time. Take care, everyone.
First Merchants Bank has your best interest at heart. And by best interest, we mean more than just our competitive rates.
We mean flexible account options for your every need.
And mortgage experts like me to help you buy your dream home.
Don't forget our attentive commercial bankers, here to help your business thrive.
At First Merchants,
we know.
Your best interest is a bank that's interested in your success. Learn more at firstmerchants.com/switch. First Merchants Bank, helping you prosper. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
From the creators of the popular science show with millions of YouTube subscribers comes the Minute Earth podcast. Every episode of the show dives deep into a science question you might not even know you had. But once you hear the answer, you'll want to share it with everyone you know. Why do rivers curve? Why did the T-Rex have such tiny arms? And why do so many more kids need glasses now than they used to? Spoiler alert, it isn't screen time. Our team of scientists digs into the research and breaks it down into a short, entertaining explanation, jam-packed with science facts and terrible puns. Subscribe to Minute Earth wherever you like to listen.